Stand. All persons having any business before this honourable court now draw nigh. Give your attendance and you will be heard. God save the King.
Chief Judge, I have the honour to announce that I have been appointed a judge of this court. I present my commission.
Thank you. Please sit down, have a seat, and I'll have the commission read. Judicial Registrar, if you would read the commission, please.
Whereas by the District Court Act 1973, it is enacted that the Governor may, by commission under the public seal of the state, appoint any qualified person as a judge of the District Court of New South Wales. Now I, the Honourable Margaret Beasley, ACKC, the Governor aforesaid, in pursuance of the power and authority vested in me in that behalf, do, with the advice of the Executive Council of New South Wales, hereby appoint you, the said Frank Anthony Veltro, being a person qualified to be so appointed, to be a judge of the said court on and from the 30th day of June 2025, provided always that you shall, except in case of leave of absence duly granted to you, actually execute the office to which you are by this commission appointed. Given under the hand of Her Excellency, the Honourable Margaret Beasley, Companion of the Order of Australia, King's Counsel, Governor of the State of New South Wales and the Commonwealth of Australia, this 18th day of June 2025.
Judicial Registrar, do you have the oaths of office and the Bible upon which Judge Veltro will be sworn?
Yes, Chief Judge.
Thank you. Judge Veltro, would you please rise and take the oaths of office?
I, Frank Anthony Veltro, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III, his heirs and successors according to law, so help me God. I, Frank Anthony Veltro, do swear that I will well and truly serve our Sovereign Lord King Charles III in the office of a Judge of the District Court of New South Wales, and I will do right to all manner of people after the laws and usages of this state, without fear or favour, affection or ill will. So help me God.
Thank you, Judge Veltro. The oaths, if you would now sign those, please. Judge Veltro, the oaths will be placed in the court archives and the Bible suitably inscribed as a memento of today's occasion. Judge Veltro, can I welcome you very much on behalf of both myself and the court. You bring with you wealth of experience, both as Deputy Director in the many years preceding that, and we warmly welcome you, congratulate you and wish you all the best.
Thank you, Chief Judge.
I now invite Mr Michael Daly, Attorney General of New South Wales, to speak.
Thank you, Chief Judge. Can I begin by acknowledging the Gadigal of the Eora Nation, pay my respects to Aboriginal colleagues here today. Can I acknowledge the presence of the Governor and the Chief Justice and other distinguished guests here today. Judge Veltro, on behalf of the New South Wales Bar and of the New South Wales Government, can I congratulate you on your elevation to this distinguished court. I feel like I should begin, though, by apologising to the Director of the Public Prosecutions, Sally Dowling, for stealing one of her very best. But you are such a distinguished and experienced lawyer, and you have led such a life of service to date, that it is fitting that you should take your place today and the court will benefit from your elevation to it. Today we are joined by your wife Dale, children Claire and Max, sisters Maria and Carmelina, as well as friends and colleagues, including many from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. I've been fortunate to hear a little bit from some of your friends and family who've provided a valuable insight into your journey to the bench today. They all describe you as thoughtful, calm, curious, loyal and principled, Your Honour. Outside of the courtroom, I hear your passion is tennis, at least when you're not injured. You've travelled to the US Open for your birthday and enjoyed strawberries and cream at Wimbledon. Your next stop is the French Open to complete your own personal Grand Slam. Your Honour once captained the New South Wales Blackwell Cup team and were recruited to the Hong Kong Judiciary versus Chinese Judiciary matches while working overseas. Back home, you won the bench and bar trophy not once, but twice. You play regularly with a group of people that some refer to as the tennis mafia. Dale describes your life as being built around the court, the tennis court. It's where you forged lasting friendships, shared many laughs and rivalries, and occasionally called out a footfall by a Supreme Court judge. Your career reflects your deep commitment to the public service, starting with the Attorney General's Department. You placed first in the Justices of the Peace section in the Public Service Entrance Exam. Later on, you joined the Supreme Court Registry, which was fortunate for a number of reasons, not the least of which is it's because it's where you met Dale. You also enrolled in a part-time law degree at UTS. Now, balancing full-time work and study, I know, is no easy feat, but you completed your degree while climbing through the ranks to become Deputy Registrar of the Probate Division and later Acting Registrar of the Court of Appeal. After nearly a decade, you joined the ODPP in 1988. And it was there your sharp mind, steady judgment and courtroom presence impressed colleagues and judicial officers alike. You worked serious indictable offences including homicide, armed robbery, sexual assault, fraud and drug trafficking. You prosecuted in both regional and metropolitan courts from Campbelltown to the Supreme Court. In 1993, you and Dale, who was by then also a lawyer, moved to Hong Kong to work as Crown Counsel. And there you ran complex jury trials, tackled appellate work and appeared before the Privy Council. In the late 90s, you returned to Australia for family reasons, joined the Commonwealth Director of Public Prosecutions, before then heading back to the New South Wales office as a Crown Prosecutor. Over the next 2 decades, you would serve in many capacities, conducting jury trials in the District and Supreme Courts, arguing criminal appeals in the Court of Criminal Appeal, and managing significant prosecutions involving gang crime, fraud and public sector corruption. You also led the Parramatta office, where you earned a reputation for being a generous mentor and very steady under pressure. You took silk in 2020, and that appointment was a clear recognition of your technical expertise and commitment to wisdom, fairness and ethics. Since 2021, you've been the Deputy Director at the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, helping guide policy, formulation, operations and future direction of the country's largest prosecutions agency. You describe your current role as akin to solving jigsaw puzzles, balancing the needs of an enormous and complex organisation while never losing sight of the individual pieces that put it together. You've spoken about how important it is to ensure that the people who are working under you feel supported, valued and have job satisfaction. Because as you've said, people do their best when they're treated with respect. Your Honour's appointment has been met with great admiration across the legal profession. For more than 4 decades, Your Honour has demonstrated intellectual rigour, practical wisdom and a commitment to fairness and professionalism. Your life and career have embodied the very essence of public service. You've balanced leadership with humility, seriousness of purpose with good humour and strength of conviction with openness to others. As I often say, public service isn't the only way to make the world a better place, but in my view, it is the surest. Your Honour, the The legal community knows you as a brilliant mind, a fair and pragmatic decision maker, and someone of unwavering integrity. You've been entrusted to date with some of the most complex and significant cases in our criminal justice system, and you've handled them with diligence, fairness, and humanity. You're a deeply thoughtful and even-tempered person, someone who will bring perspective and clarity to the most complex and difficult of situations. And we know that your courtroom will be one that's run with courtesy and fairness and grace, that you will listen, deliberate and decide with care. Your story is taken, Your Honour, from Marrickville to Hong Kong, from the bench of Deputy Registrar to the bench of the District Court. It's a journey shaped by perseverance, professionalism and the power of community. You are a good person with a good heart. And so on behalf of the New South Wales Bar and the people of New South Wales, can I congratulate you on your elevation to this court today. It's a pleasure to the court.
Thank you, Mr Attorney. I now invite Ms Jennifer Ball, President of the Law Society of New South Wales, to speak.
May it please the Court. I too acknowledge the Gadigal of the Eora Nation, the traditional owners of the land on which this court stands, and pay my respects to the elders past and present. I acknowledge and extend my respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who are with us today. For anyone familiar with the building and floors that house the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, you will know it is a state-of-the-art facility. The rooms for meeting children involved in legal proceedings are light, open and yet secluded. The floors are washed in light. It has a remarkable ability to create shared spaces as well as rooms, offices and chambers necessary for the private industry of law. And it is an excellent example of making a space whose tone is on par with the seriousness of receiving individuals who have been harmed by others. If a building could somehow represent not just the needs of the profession, but a whole person, then this is perhaps an apt analogy for Your Honour. As was said by one who knows closely, Frank has time for everybody. A good example of that is seen in the fact that Your Honour's old chambers were on level 8 in the ODP building. Every morning Your Honour would say to colleagues, let's go and get a coffee, which meant level 6 where the coffee machines are. But it wasn't so simple. One just didn't get a coffee with Frank Veltro, SC. Your Honour knows everyone. Everyone. That meant stopping, talking, asking how things were. How's the dog? How was the game? Did you get the electrician in? The case, did that piece of evidence come? What about your daughter? Is she okay? In reality, going down 2 flights of stairs to get a coffee was so much more. It was a progression through time and space and humanity, from level 6 conversations to level 7 conversations. And eventually one would come to level 8 conversations. And finally, I've got a few things I have to do. But should anyone think this was a loose use of time, they would be wrong. Your Honour, as a silk, has been reviewing the most serious criminal cases possible, making hundreds of material decisions every day, as well as acting as Deputy Director of the largest public prosecutions office in the country. Your Honour has appeared in numerous complex trials and appeals in the Court of Criminal Appeal and High Court. You have overseen various offices of the New South Wales ODPP, worked for the Commonwealth ODPP and the Attorney General. Your Honour has been to the Privy Council twice, including as one of the last Australians to appear there from Hong Kong. And in your 20s, you were a registrar in the Supreme Court of New South Wales, winding up corporations by consent and hearing insolvency matters. So if Your Honour was going to talk to staff, there was good reason. And none better than the simple fact that human connection is vital. Indeed, a member of the public could come into the ODPP and Your Honour would simply say your name and show them where they needed to go. Nevertheless, I also heard rumours that Your Honour was an enabler of sorts. It was not unusual for a massive box of, say, 10,000 calories a bite Italian cream buns or a dozen donuts to appear in chambers early in the morning, courtesy of Your Honour. As has also been made clear today, tennis is your obsession. Friends also told me that Your Honour is an outstanding tennis player, but one who often sees the chiropractor on a Monday, then the physio on a Wednesday. Indeed, friends said that despite clear ability, one needs to note if the wind is blowing a little, as there is a high chance it will put Your Honour's back out. The praise didn't stop there. We heard rumours of, say, an eyelid mysteriously delaying appearances, and one sometimes teammate, sometimes opponent, and constant sledger noted that Your Honour is a fantastic player despite being vertically challenged. He said that one of your biggest tennis regrets, he said that one of his biggest tennis regrets was carrying Your Honour through 3 bench versus bar wins, only to be banned from playing together before he could show his real prowess. I note that you were on the same side. Finally, it was said that you give as good as you get. This friend, and only a friend could have offered this insight for this moment, said that he hit one of the best forehands of his life recently, and Your Honour's response was, next time open your eyes and face the right way. From a love of food and hard tennis games, it was also noticed that Your Honour is incredibly caring outside of work. Your 2 children are grown now, and I'm told you have Ruby in your life. Important people are around Your Honour, but Ruby is perhaps number 1. Your Honour sometimes goes to cafes with friends and lovingly orders Ruby a poached egg. But friends and colleagues noted that, as well as the anecdotes, the humour and the tales of making what I'm told is the most brutal Negroni ever. And despite all the cases, the responsibility of your legal roles, Your Honour remains the same genuine, empathetic person you have always been. Should anyone question that, as these ceremonies can seem like hagiographies, I also remind them of your appearance in your first negligent manslaughter trial or your first murder trial. Early cases at the New South Wales Bar too, like Wong versus the Queen, concerning admissibility of guideline judgments from appellate courts, or the many cases from then to now, including the likes of R versus Davison in 2021 in this court. You do not take on work like this without deeply caring about people. For the record, R versus Davison concerned a 30-year-old offender whose name I shall not mention. Instead, let us remember that on Saturday evening, the 1st of February 2020, he was driving between 131 kilometres an hour and 133 kilometres an hour in a suburban street, whilst heavily intoxicated and under the residual influence of cocaine and MDMA, and without braking, lost control of his vehicle and killed Angelina Abdallah, 12, Sienna Abdallah, 8, Anthony Abdallah, 13, and Veronica Sakar, 11. In addition, Charbel Cassis, 11, suffered severe permanent brain injuries and head fractures. Marbel Cassis, 13, it was her birthday, suffered lacerations, and Liana Abdallah, 10, suffered facial injuries and underlying fractures, as well as all 3 surviving children suffering seriously psychological damage. His Honour Judge Bennett SC in the sentencing hearing, and I quote, "The manner of the driving was such that the tragedy was inevitable. The magnitude of the tragedy, though, extends to the unimaginable." Equally, Danny Abdallah, father of 3 who were killed, wrote, and I quote, "Without justice, there is no forgiveness. There is only anarchy." Why go into such detail at a time like this? Isn't it meant to be a celebration of Your Honour's elevation to the bench? Well, few jobs have more significance and weight in our society than those of Crown prosecutors. And it is a weight, substantial as it may be, that in a certain view withers when compared to the life experience of victims, survivors and the families of those murdered and killed in the numerous cases prosecuted by the New South Wales Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Concerning today and the recognition of these cases then, let us also acknowledge the people who make the function of this court possible, and that in such cases, small as they may be, they see that justice is done. When the Law Society asked Your Honour about the impact of leading in this one of the most significant cases in Your Honour's career, Your Honour's immediate and unqualified concern was for your legal team and its effects on them, for the victims and their families. Your Honour's response was sincere and solely about taking care of others. And this is why respected silks who deal in the complex reality of loss, death and grievous bodily harm, of matters that could emotionally drag one under in a second, all the judges, all the lawyers we spoke to, people from serious backgrounds and achievement, spoke about a man that they know is compassionate, loyal and kind. Someone who is unfailingly approachable and solutions-focused. A man who offers sage advice, who not only knows the criminal law like the contours of an old worn tennis racket, but who has been consistently smart about which shots win the match. Your Honour's approach to law has always been practical, focused in the most efficient way to find solutions to legal problems. With this in mind, as one judge from a higher court noted about this appointment, it should always have been the case. Your Honour has also done all of this while prioritising your family. And this has been done in a deep way that many will not realise. And so whilst we are here to honour your legal ability and elevation, perhaps even more important is Your Honour's capability to care for people who value you as much as you do them. Your Honour, on behalf of the 43,000 solicitors in New South Wales, congratulations on being appointed a judge of the District Court of New South Wales, as the court pleases.
Thank you, Ms Ball. Judge Veltro.
Thank you, Chief Judge. Your Excellency, Chief Justice, President Ward, Your Honours, Mr Attorney, Ms Ball, distinguished guests, colleagues, friends and family. I also acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather. I pay my respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us today. It's my sincere hope that the fairness I strive to uphold from the bench may, in some small way, contribute to our shared journey towards reconciliation. Thank you, Mr Attorney and Ms Ball, for your very kind and generous remarks. To my new colleagues on the bench, thank you for the warmth of your welcome. Many of you were once colleagues during our times as Crown prosecutors, and I look forward to rekindling those friendships. I'm especially grateful to Judges Hugh Baker, Peter McGrath and Tanya Smith, who welcomed me to Directors' Chambers some years ago and now again offer guidance as I transition into this new role. Judges Jane Culver, Robert Sutherland and Miko Kumar have been steadfast friends and invaluable sources of support for many years. Judge David Scully has shared some interesting insights about his recent transition to this court. And Judge Siobhan Herbert has been both a colleague and a cherished family friend for nearly 4 decades. I thank them all sincerely. I also acknowledge the enduring friendship and support of Judge Stephen Hanley. I know he was supposed to be on leave this week and I'm honoured by his presence on the bench today. I extend my congratulations to Justice Paul Maguire on his recent and well-deserved elevation to the Supreme Court. I feel deeply honoured to now fill the vacancy he leaves behind. The many emails, texts, calls and kind messages I've received in recent weeks have been genuinely moving. I hope in time to respond to each of you. It means a great deal to me that so many friends and family from within and beyond the legal community are here with me today or are watching online. As I reflected in preparing for today, I realised that naming everyone who has shaped my journey might challenge the record currently held by Judge Robert Sutherland for the longest ever swearing-in speech. However, notwithstanding that risk, there are a number of people that must be acknowledged. To my former Deputy Director colleagues, Helen Roberts SC, Lee Carr SC and Ken Mackay SC, thank you for your unwavering support and camaraderie. I also extend that thanks to Michelle England SC, who recently left our chambers to return to the bar. To Brett Hatfield SC, our Acting Senior Crown Prosecutor, and to all Crown Prosecutors across New South Wales, thank you. The work you do is challenging and vital. It was an honour to serve alongside you and I will miss your collegiality. I've been privileged to work with many talented and hardworking solicitors, including, of course, Craig Hyland, the Solicitor for Public Prosecutions and his deputies, whose insight and professionalism never failed to impress. Marley Zelinka, Jennifer Hoy, Dominique Kelly, Carla Black, Brooke Ellery, and the recently retired Helen Langley all deserve a special mention. My thanks also to Stephen Kavanagh and former Solicitor for Public Prosecutions, and John Favretto, former Deputy Solicitor and Magistrate, along with their wives Sue and Pam, who are here and who all remain my dearest friends. The ODP today is a large and dynamic agency employing over 1,000 staff across 10 offices. Its effectiveness depends on the contributions of many whose work who work tirelessly behind the scenes. I'd like to acknowledge Nigel Richardson and his staff from HR, Mike Goddard and his staff from Finance, Brendan Oldham and everyone in IT, Jane Wolfe and the Witness Assistance Officers, and I thank Jan McClelland AM and Ian Gillespie for their wise and independent oversight on the Executive Board. I also thank Rahul Nambiar, our Chief Audit and Risk Executive. I recognise the recent retirement of Robin Gray, who, after many years of loyal and sterling service, left the ODPP board late last year. I also thank Alison Gill, Michael Keating and Brod Gilson Cowan for their ongoing support. To the Chambers team, Principal Legal Advisors James Dorney and Matt Carpin, as well as the Senior Legal Advisors who rotate through Chambers, thank you for consistently delivering legal advice of the highest calibre. I also acknowledge Esther Quee, Vanessa Chan, Lisa Robinson and Matt Harper, who were in Chambers during my early tenure and have moved on to more senior positions. To our indispensable Chambers staff, particularly Erica Giulioni, Sally Killeran, Jasmine Myers, and our exceptional executive assistants, Tanette Leadham and Alicia Goodworth, thank you. The efficient and supportive environment in Chambers is very much thanks to you. And to answer Tanette's question, the answer is no. I will not need a booster cushion to see over the bench. Over the course of my career, I've served under every Director of Public Prosecutions since the office's inception. The Honourable Reg Blanche KC, Nicholas Cowdrey KC and Lloyd Babb SC, each of whom strove to uphold the integrity and independence of the office. That independence is of fundamental importance to the rule of law in New South Wales. The office has evolved greatly since 1987. In today's climate, where the rule of law is under pressure in many parts of the world, we are fortunate to have a principled, progressive and compassionate director in Sally Dowling SC, who is thankfully also very resilient. I have long admired her ability to lead a large modern agency while maintaining an active appellate and High Court practice. Her email signature notes that she works flexibly and often outside normal hours. That statement profoundly understates her tireless dedication. I feel privileged to have served as her deputy. To Senior Public Defender Richard Wilson and to the Public Defenders, Legal Aid, the Aboriginal Legal Service, and the many counsel and solicitors I've worked alongside over the past 25 years, thank you for your professionalism and unwavering commitment. I also acknowledge my colleagues at the Commonwealth DPP, including Christina Choi and the recently retired Joanne Phillipson. My time at the Commonwealth DPP was both formative and fulfilling. I had the privilege of being junior to outstanding counsel such as Peter Hastings KC, Wayne Rosa SC, and Des Fagan SC, now Justice Fagan. I was also instructed by a number of exceptional solicitors, some of whom have gone on to establish successful careers at the bar or in private practice, such as Caroline Dabrachik and Yasmin Swift, while others, such as Peter Lowe and Kay Marinos, have become Crown prosecutors. I've always reflected very fondly on my time in Hong Kong. My thanks to Ian Lloyd KC, who first encouraged me to take that step, and I understand is here today. Hong Kong in the 1990s was a dynamic and exhilarating place to live and to practice law. The legal system was unique and in several respects quite progressive, with 7-person juries, majority verdicts and guideline judgments. I had the privilege of working with some very interesting and colourful personalities from all over the common law world. During that time, I was fortunate to be mentored by my dear friend Andrew Bruce KC, one of Hong Kong's foremost criminal barristers and occasional acting High Court judge. I'd like to remember 2 colleagues from that period who are sadly no longer with us. First, Peter Callaghan, formerly of Chalfont and Garfield Barwick Chambers, Peter was one of Hong Kong's most experienced criminal barristers and a very close and cherished family friend. I'm honoured by the presence of his wife Gillian here today. The other is Harish Milwani, a gentle and principled man whose fairness and kindness I will never forget. Upon returning to Australia in 1997, I read at Chalfont Chambers under Miss Victoria Hartstein, a talented barrister, compassionate mentor, and also former Hong Kong colleague. I'm deeply grateful for her presence here today. My first Crown Prosecutor posting was to Campbelltown in the year 2000, where I met the brilliant Helen Wilson, later Justice Wilson SC, and the equally remarkable Michael Fox. We were later joined by the formidable Craig Patrick SC. We all remain lifelong friends. The work was heavy and relentless, but the camaraderie made it meaningful. We learned patience, resilience, and a great deal about advocacy. As Deputy Senior Crown Prosecutor for Sydney West, I worked with many dedicated prosecutors, solicitors, and support staff. I especially acknowledge Monica Knowles, who was my junior on many challenging matters, and Yasmin Seviljan, who was my former executive assistant. I'd also like to acknowledge Brian Knox, formerly Judge Knox of this court, and his wife Jeanette, dear friends whose wisdom and humour I greatly appreciate. Brian has offered me some sage advice about the role I'm about to embark upon. He said, if your head is in the oven and your feet are in the fridge, on balance, you'll be comfortable. I'm not entirely sure what he was trying to tell me. I think I'm about to find out. Justice Michael Walton, thank you for your friendship, your tennis partnership, and for always raising the standard of any court you serve, judicial or sporting. As you've heard, I was raised and educated in Marrickville, which, according to the media, is now one of the world's trendiest suburbs. I'm sure it's just a coincidence that distinction was achieved only after I moved out of the area. My parents, Antonio and Chiara, ensured my sisters and I were well-dressed, well-educated, much loved, and always well-fed. Very well-fed. I now understand at this stage of my life how lucky and privileged we were. My mother passed away during the COVID pandemic. She would have found today completely overwhelming, though her chief concern would still have been whether I'd eaten enough for breakfast and whether I was wearing a singlet. She believed that singlets could ward off not only all illness, but all forms of evil. My father, Antonio, was watching online at the Cardinal Freeman Village in Ashfield. Yesterday, we celebrated his 97th birthday. He left his hometown of Portici on the slopes of Mount Vesuvius at the age of 15 to study marine engineering in Genoa. He sailed around the world aboard the SS Roma and the SS Sydney several times before settling in Sydney and working with the Royal Australian Navy at Garden Island Dockyard for over 35 years. I would describe my father as a fairly strong-minded individual, but with a cheeky and occasionally quirky sense of humour. Our family home in Marrickville, from an architectural perspective, would perhaps best be classified as Federation/Mediterranean. For practical rather than aesthetic reasons, my father decided to concrete our entire front lawn. Our local member at the time was the very affable Fred Daly, who represented the electorate of Grayndler for over 26 years. He often took a walk down our street and knew all the residents by name. He told my father that the concrete was ugly and that it created a bad impression for visitors flying into Sydney over Marrickville, which was under the flight path. My dad's solution to this was to paint the concrete green. The memory of him out the front of our home in his white singlet, hosing the green concrete while waiting for our local member to make his way down the street. It's an endearing one. I'm grateful to my sisters, Mina and Carmelina, who are here today. Maria's husband, Frank, is having a short spell in hospital and couldn't join us, but Carmelina's husband, Adrian, is present, probably because of the free sandwiches that may be available afterwards. My nieces and nephews, David, Anthony and Sophia, and my cousin Tony are here, and many other family members are watching online. Both my sisters and their husbands are school teachers who've become principals or vice principals at various schools throughout the Sydney metropolitan area. Carmelina is presently the principal of Casimir College, which was formerly St Bridget's and De La Salle Marrickville, which was the school I attended. On a recent visit, I was very impressed by the modern facilities they now have, which included synthetic turf fields, basketball courts, handball courts, and a modern gymnasium. When I was a student there, all we had was a bitumen playground, and the only sport I recall playing was a game called Brandings, which is a form of Hunger Games played with a wet tennis ball. That game caused me to develop a number of useful skills such as quick thinking, agility, and the ability to change direction at short notice. These are skills that have served me well in my legal career. Much of my childhood was spent at the Marrickville Hardcourt Tennis Club in Henson Park, home of the Newtown Jets. I'm very proud that my new brother, Judge Katsanos, who is also a lifelong Newtown supporter, is on the bench with me today. I've never seen Judge Katsanos at Henson Park, but then again, it's hard to see everyone in the crowd of 8,972 spectators that religiously turn up to every home match. I still vividly recall that windy Sunday, September afternoon in 1981, sitting in the concourse of the Barwongal stand at the SCG when Tommy Rodonica scored from a scrum just after half-time, which raised hopes of Newtown securing its first premiership since 1943. Alas, it wasn't to be, but I was comforted and distracted at that time by the presence beside me of my future wife, Dale, who was a St George supporter that lived in Mortdale. Dale and I met when we were both teenagers working in the registry of the Supreme Court. The details of that meeting is a story for another occasion, but our first date was a screening of the Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour. It was a fitting choice as this year we will celebrate our 39th wedding anniversary. Over my career, I've met many brilliant legal minds, and I count Dale amongst the most exceptional of those. For health reasons, she retired from her position as special counsel with the Australian Government Solicitor several years ago. If life was fair and had fate taken a different course, I'm sure that we would have celebrated many more milestones in her career. I know without a doubt that I would not be in this position today were it not for her unwavering love, support and encouragement. To our children, Claire, who travelled from Melbourne to be here today, and Max watching from London, Dale and I are so proud of the thoughtful, independent and responsible adults you've both become. Though we know the real reason for your regular calls is to FaceTime Ruby, who, as you've heard, is our very spoilt and much loved miniature schnauzer. To my tennis friends, many of whom believe my occupation as a barrister was to make coffee, Tanya, Peter, Runa, Katrina, Kathy, George, and all the others who've been in touch. I'll see you on the court soon. Finally, a special hello to Ivanka Rivera, who was unable to be here today, but is watching online. Her late husband, Juan, was a dear friend and tennis companion who was deeply missed. To all those who've walked this path with me, family, friends, mentors and colleagues, thank you. I'm humbled by the confidence shown me by the Attorney General and the Chief Judge. I accept this responsibility with deep seriousness and pledge to discharge my duties with fairness, humility and integrity. Thank you, Chief Judge.
Thank you, Judge Veltro. Thank you all for being here, and I'd like to invite you all to morning tea in the room opposite. The court will now adjourn.
All stand.
Oh.